I've been in business over 35 years, have over 300 employees, and have bought over $3 billion worth of real estate. And we generate millions of dollars each and every month. And what I've learned is that every business has three masters. It took me decades to understand what I'm about to teach you in just a few minutes. So the first one are the investors. And now that could be you, but in a lot of cases, there's a lot of money raised for investment. So we see this a lot when people are starting new companies, for example. But primarily, this investor is you. It's your own savings. It's another mortgage that you put on your house, or maybe you financed it some other way, like even a credit card. And the number one biggest mistake people make here is that they are just creating a busyness as opposed to a business. Most small business owners create a busyness. In other words, they're replacing a W-2 job for a business, but it's really just a busyness. So they're working a lot more, but they're actually not making a lot more. So they're better off, believe it or not, just being an employee somewhere, having a stable salary and a W-2 income coming in. If you're not going to scale into a business and you're just going to sit in a busyness, it's just not worth it, because you're better off having something that you can leave at 5 o'clock. If you're just going to churn the business and work more hours and make about the same amount of money, or maybe just a little bit more, this is not for you. If you have the courage to invest your money or use somebody else's money and invest into a business, then you have to be thinking about the return on that. So a lot of people right now can put money into, let's say, a T-bill or a treasury bill at 4 or 5%. So why would they invest with you? This business better produce a margin of 20, 30, 40%. It must do that. So if you're at a $100,000 a year job, this business should be producing for you at least $200,000 of net profit for you, not including the initial capital costs. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to pay back the capital, but also produce a business that's producing a lifestyle that you want. So one of the biggest mistakes people make here is they don't value their time. So in other words, they invest into the business or they use somebody else's. There's something called compound interest. There's something called time value of money. These are all real things. So if you're taking a bunch of cash from somebody and dumping it into a business, you should be, and everyone's going to be looking for a return on that money. No different than if that money was just sitting in a high interest savings account. Always value your own time, and always consider the time value of money and compound interest. So compound interest, as you know, is making money on money that's already making money. The second master are the employees. So most small business owners specifically are really cheap. They look at employees as commodities, as somebody just to fill a role, like a cashier or a waiter, or maybe somebody in the service department. Most businesses are poorly run, and they're really cheap in this category. In other words, they don't really build a culture with employees. Employees will be the backbone of your business. It's certainly the backbone of mine. Not to mention, the whole goal of an employee is to replace you. What you want is for them to run the business and for you to have the money. So you want the money and the time. That's the entire point of employees. Most business owners look at the employees as an expense, and they are, of course, but if you're going to have somebody replace you over time, you can develop employees into long-term owners, partners, and people that can actually help you get your time back and produce a lot more money for you. As a business owner, you always got to be thinking of the employee and what they want. And most employees want great culture. Most employees want to see direction. Most employees want leadership. And if you're poor at those things, you're going to have turnover, and you're always going to blame the employee. So after a while, good culture can kick out bad culture. So I'll give you a couple examples. During the pandemic, we saw a lot of this. What we saw was bad cultures blew apart businesses. Good cultures kept them together. Because what you have, even if you bring somebody that's a bad hire or a bad fit, if the culture's tight, the culture kicks them out. The management doesn't even have to get involved. I've seen this over and over and over. So one of the big keys of hiring great employees is to hire for attitude and not experience. This is a big one, because most people look at resumes and they say this person has all this experience, but really what you're looking for is that person with the great attitude. And when you start to get people with really good attitudes and you have a system where they can develop over time, make more money, move up in the company, be better compensated, or even compensate them for the actual production that they're doing, then what will happen is they will realize that they're in a great situation and they will not allow poor performance from other employees. So my experience has been when you have really good, high-performing employees, they actually naturally weed out the bad employees, which can oftentimes come into a culture. So some of the things that have worked for us is we focus on work-life balance. In other words, we offer PTO, which is paid time off, and VTO, which is volunteer time off, and we have a full-time director of philanthropy. So people look at our culture as we are meaningful. We're actually doing things in our communities, and that resonates with some of the very best employees. So all these little things matter. And then as the leadership, we have 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goals for our company. And that information is communicated to the employees each quarter of every year. So every quarter we do a state of the company to tell all the employees where we are in relation to our bigger plan so that they see that the company has some kind of direction, it has some kind of momentum, and of course there's lots of opportunities for all those people. So every time we do the quarterly state of the companies, the employees get really excited because they see opportunities inside of the company that are going to come as a result of the growth that we're communicating to them. Some of the mistakes I see is a lot of corporate folks do this inside of a boardroom and the employees don't really have any idea on what direction the company's going at all. The number one master of all three of these is the customer. And so some of you might not agree with that, but the customer is the one that's paying all the bills. If you think about it, in my company, we have 10,000 tenants and they all pay all the bills. They all pay all the salaries. They pay all the mortgages. They pay everything. A lot of poorly run businesses focus on new customers using fancy marketing and advertising when really the number one thing they should be doing is focusing on their existing customers. So I always ask, where are we with our existing customers? Because right now we have 10,000 customers. Yes, we have people moving in and moving out. We have new customers, and that is important. But what most people do is they focus on the new people that they haven't even met yet, and they don't spend a lot of time on the people that are already paying them. It's the craziest thing ever. So we have whole programs in our company around resident retention as an example. And we're communicating with our residents 6 months before their lease is up. I know some businesses that are really crushing this and they're focusing on their existing customers because those are the people, if they have really good experiences, they're going to come back time and time and time again. And if they don't, they're not going to. When I see businesses that actually don't make it, a lot of time, it's because they don't treat their customers great. Especially in today with social media, these online reviews and the people talking to other people is so easy. They just pull out their app and hit something negative or positive. So these customer reviews are super important now. I love it. As you guys all know, when you're looking for a place to go, you're looking for a hotel, you're looking for a restaurant, you're actually looking at those customer reviews. That's how important these are. Taking care of your customers and making sure that they're number one will continually drive your top line income. And of course, as your customers spend more money, you can actually afford to pay your employees more, and your investors, which might be you or might be someone else, actually makes more money. So everything revolves around the customer. We take this so seriously at my company that we have full-time customer service agents. We want to know the experience of every single customer when they're moving in, when they're living there, and of course their experience if they end up leaving. We want to know this information so we can adjust at the corporate office to make sure that this is really focused on, because it takes a lot of money and effort to get a customer, and the best thing and the easiest thing that you can do is keep them as a customer for life. If you have a business and are looking to scale, I just made a video on how you can scale to $1 billion business and fast track, unfortunately, a lot of mistakes that I've made the hard way. You can check that out here.